Okay, so ready to dive into another deep dive today.
hmm
We're zeroing in on bakery specialized seller interviews.
Oh,
It's
fun.
a really interesting blend of like passion for baking, right?
Yeah,
But you also got to have that customer service touch.
absolutely. You got to be able to connect with people, talk about croissants with the same energy as, like sales numbers. It's a unique skill set.
Totally, totally. So we've got a whole stack of stuff here, interview guides, your notes, and we're going to try to pull out those golden nuggets to help you totally rock that interview.
Think of it like we're sifting the flour for you, getting rid of the lumps and bumps, and finding those perfect grains of interview wisdom.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And speaking of things we'll cover, we're going to dedicate about 75% of our time today to the really common interview questions. And this is key, we're not just giving you the answers, we're going to dissect them. Like, why are they asking this? And how do you make your answer really stand out?
We're also going to sprinkle in some of those tasty career insights from your guides. Because acing the interview, that's great, but knowing where this role could take you in the future, that's even better.
Absolutely. So first up, let's talk about that question you're almost guaranteed to get. Can you tell us about your experience working in a bakery? Now, some of you listening, you might have been, elbow deep in dough since you were a kid, while others, maybe you're newer to the game. What's the approach here, no matter your background?
So the interesting thing is they're looking beyond just the years you've clocked in. It's more about your passion. Did you help your grandma bake? Experiment with sourdough starters in your kitchen. They want to see that spark, that genuine interest in the craft.
So instead of just saying, oh, I love to bake, which, come on, who doesn't? You could say something like, my earliest memories are filled with the smell of yeast and sugar. My grandma, she had this little bakery, and I was just mesmerized watching her work.
Exactly. Paint that picture. And if you do have professional experience, that's where you get specific. Did you manage inventory? Train new staff? Even mastering something like, oh, I don't know, perfectly shaping croissants shows dedication.
And this is where RoleCatcher can give you a little edge.
Hmm.
Imagine typing in that question and boom, it pulls up industry keywords. Like maybe they're known for their sourdough. RoleCatcher's gonna be like, hey, mention your sourdough starter, that kind of thing.
It's like having a personalized research assistant, making sure you hit all those relevant points.
Right. Okay, next question. How do you ensure the products you sell are top-notch quality? Now, I'm guessing it's got to be more than just, well, it looks good to me, right?
Definitely. This is about showing them you get the bigger picture. Food safety, consistency, happy customers. They need someone who's going to be all over that.
So instead of, I'm good at following instructions, you could say, I understand that each pastry, each loaf of bread, it reflects on the entire bakery. So I'm really careful about expiration dates, keeping my workspace spotless, and I'm always trying to learn new techniques.
Much stronger. You've shown them you're thinking about their reputation, about constantly upping your game. That's huge.
And guess what? RoleCatcher can make that answer even sharper. Their AI, it can analyze what you've written, maybe suggest a stronger word here, a more specific detail there. It's wild.
It's like having a writing coach in your back pocket.
Okay, let's shift gears to a people skills question. Tell us about a time you had to smooth things over with a customer. We've all been there. Someone's not happy with their order, or they think the croissant isn't flaky enough. What are they really looking for here?
Grace under pressure. They want to see that you can stay calm, be understanding even when someone's, giving you a hard time. It's about those conflict resolution muscles.
So instead of just, I'd apologize and offer a free cookie, which, who's going to say no to a cookie?
Yeah.
How would you tackle this with a real example?
Okay, let's say a customer complains their baguette isn't fresh. Instead of getting defensive, you could say, I listened to their concerns, apologized, and offered them a baguette straight out of the oven. I also let them know I'd mentioned this to the bakers, just to make sure things are tip-top.
Perfect. You've shown them you can handle a tough customer, make things right, and even use it as an opportunity to improve. Now, for those listening who maybe haven't worked directly with customers in a bakery setting, can you draw on other experiences?
Absolutely. Maybe you've had to mediate between friends, or you had a part-time job where, customer service was key. It's all about showing you can listen, empathize, and find a solution.
And this is where RoleCatcher's video practice is so cool. Record yourself answering this question, watch it back, see how you come across. Are you making eye contact?
Yeah.
Smiling? It's all part of the package.
It's like a dress rehearsal for your interview, but with, AI feedback. How cool is that?
It's funny you mentioned that about different experiences, because one thing that really stood out to me in these career guides, they actually emphasize how this role, bakery specialized seller, It's often like a stepping stone.
Oh, really? So, like, it's not just about, selling sourdough forever. Tell me more.
Exactly. It's like you're mastering that sourdough starter, right? You
Wow.
nurture it, it grows, and all these new possibilities open up. Like the guide specifically mentions moving into management. So with experience, you could be running the show.
Wow. From ringing up croissants to running the whole bakery. That's got to be motivating for our listeners.
Totally. And it doesn't stop there. Maybe you realize, hey, you love creating those delicious displays, coming up with new recipes. The guide talks about becoming head baker, developing new menu items.
Wow. From seller to like culinary artist. That's
Mm,
amazing. Right. And for those who are, real people, maybe you leverage those customer service skills, manage the bakery's social media, become the voice of the brand online.
so many paths. Okay, so we've got management, creative stuff, anything else those guides highlight.
One more thing that jumped out for the truly ambitious, they even talk about, get this, starting your own bakery down the line, taking all that experience, all that knowledge, and launching your own dream.
Wow, from bakery specialized seller to bakery entrepreneur, talk
Yeah.
about inspiration. But even for those just starting out, just knowing these paths exist, that's huge.
Exactly. It's that springboard we were talking about.
Mm.
And even in the interview, showing them, hey, I'm thinking long term, I see the bigger picture, that speaks volumes.
It's about showing them you're not just there for a paycheck. You're there for like a whole career you can really, sink your teeth into.
You got it.
Okay, speaking of sinking your teeth into something, let's tackle another question. How do you prioritize, you manage all your work in a busy bakery? Because things can get pretty crazy, especially those peak hours.
Oh, for sure. This one's all about your organization, your ability to stay cool under pressure, juggle those tasks like a pro.
So instead of just, oh, I'm a multitasker, give them a real-life example, right? Like during the holidays, I was managing online orders, helping customers in person, and making sure the display case was always fully stocked.
Perfect. Give them those specifics. Show them you can prioritize, delegate if you need to, think on your feet.
And if you're listening and thinking, wait, I haven't worked in a super high-pressure bakery yet,
That's okay. Draw on other experiences. Maybe a crazy school project, a time you juggled a million things at once. It all counts.
absolutely. It's about highlighting those skills. And hey, remember RoleCatcher. They have that feature where you can save practice questions, create custom sets. So you want to nail those organization questions. Boom, make a set, practice till you're golden.
Love it. Okay, next question. This one's about maintaining those sparkling clean standards. How do you ensure the bakery follows all the, health and safety rules? I'm guessing it's a bit more nuanced than just wash your hands.
Right.
You got it. This is huge for them. They need to know you understand. Food safety is no joke. Proper handling, storage, sanitation, the whole 9 yards. It's about protecting their customers and their reputation.
So instead of, oh, I always follow the rules,
Yeah.
how can you show them you really get it?
Talk about specifics, even stuff you do in your own kitchen. I'm super careful about washing my hands, always use separate cutting boards for raw and cooked food, that kind of thing.
Love those examples.
Yeah.
And if you've had formal training, like a food safety certification, definitely mention that.
Yes, show them you're serious about this. Even without formal training, highlighting how you keep things spotless, that shows them you understand how crucial it is.
And guess what? RoleCatcher can be a lifesaver here.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine typing in the bakery's name and boom, it pulls up all those local health codes, regulations, everything. Talk about being prepared.
It's all about going that extra mile to show them, hey, I'm not just looking for a job, I'm invested in doing things right.
Okay, up next, a question that's more important than ever these days. How would you handle a customer with, a food allergy or a specific dietary need? Because it's not just about preferences anymore. It's about making sure everyone feels safe and included.
Exactly. This one's a double whammy. You got to show them you're empathetic, you can provide amazing customer service, but also that you understand dietary restrictions are serious business.
So instead of just being like, I'd ask the baker, how can you answer this with, confidence and sensitivity?
You could say, I totally get how important dietary needs are, and I treat them with the utmost care. I'd make sure I knew all the ingredients and be ready to offer alternatives if needed.
That's a great start. And if you have personal experience with dietary restrictions, that's gold. It shows you really get it.
Totally. Even if you don't, highlight your willingness to learn. I'm always researching, always learning new things so I can be the best resource for every single customer.
It's about showing them you're creating that welcoming, inclusive environment right from the moment they walk in. Speaking of environments, let's talk about those, shall we say, interesting coworker dynamics. The question, tell me about a time you had to work with a difficult colleague. We've all been there, right?
Oh, tell me about it. They want to know you can navigate those tricky personalities, stay professional, communicate effectively. It's all about those people skills in action.
So how do you answer this without, throwing anyone under the bus?
Focus on the positive. Highlight your problem-solving skills. I once worked with someone who had a totally different style than me. We clashed a bit at first, but I made a point to understand their perspective, communicate openly, and you know what? We found a way to work together effectively.
That's awesome. Turning a potentially negative situation into like a masterclass in diplomacy. Now, for those listening who might be newer to the working world, maybe haven't had to navigate, those office politics yet, can you draw on other experiences?
For sure. Maybe a group project with that one person. It's about showing you can adapt, compromise, find that common ground. Those skills translate everywhere.
And again, RoleCatcher swoops in with the assist. Their AI feedback is amazing. Practice your answer. Even record yourself on video, and it'll tell you, hey, your tone sounds defensive here, or you come across super confident and professional here. It's like having a personal coach, but for, like, your interview persona.
How cool is technology, right?
I know. Okay, let's dive into a question that's all about letting your baking geek flag fly. What are some of your favorite baking books or resources? This is your time to shine.
This is where you geek out. But seriously, it's not about impressing them with big names. It's about showing them, hey, you're genuinely passionate about this. You're always learning.
So what should we keep in mind when answering this?
Be authentic. Share what you actually love. Maybe it's that old family cookbook stained with years of batter and love. Or maybe it's a cutting-edge blog by some pastry rock star. Be real. That's what matters.
Maybe it's a baking show on TV that gets those creative juices flowing, or a podcast cough that you find super insightful. We love those.
Exactly. Variety is good. And hey, if RoleCatcher can help you discover some new faves, even better, right? They've got those curated lists of books, blogs, podcasts. It's like a treasure trove of baking knowledge.
I love that. Okay, wrapping up this section with a question that's all about knowing yourself.
Mm.
What are your biggest strengths and weaknesses as a bakery specialized seller? This one can be tricky, am I right?
Oh, for sure. You want to highlight those strengths without sounding, like a braggart. But you got to be honest about those areas where you're still growing.
So instead of that classic, I'm a people person,
Mm-hmm.
what's a better way to approach it?
Get specific. Instead of people person, it's I'm great at remembering names and orders, which I think creates that personal touch customers love. See the difference?
Go night and day. Now, what about weaknesses? Nobody wants to air their dirty laundry, right?
Right. The key here is to choose something you're actively working on. So not just, I'm a perfectionist snooze fest, but maybe I can get caught up in the details sometimes, but I'm learning to prioritize and manage my time better so I can be efficient without sacrificing quality.
Now, that's how you turn a weakness into, like, a stealth strength. And, hey, RoleCatcher can help you fine-tune this answer, too.
Mm-hmm.
Practice it. Their AI will analyze it, tell you if you've struck that perfect balance between confidence and humility.
It's like having a personal branding expert on call 24/7. Who wouldn't want that?
It's showing that self-awareness, that drive to always be learning and growing. That goes a long way.
Huge, especially in a field like this where you're interacting with customers all day long. Authenticity, that willingness to learn, those are the magic ingredients.
Totally. Okay, we've covered a ton today. From nailing those interview questions to, like, mapping out your future in the baking world. Any final thoughts for our listeners as they gear up for those interviews?
Remember, you're interviewing them too. It's got to be a good fit on both sides, right?
Oh, that's such a good point. It's easy to get caught up in trying to impress them, but yeah, ask those questions. Company culture, training, heck, even ask them about their favorite thing to bake. Why not?
Exactly. It shows you're genuinely curious, you're invested in finding the right place, not just any place. And speaking of finding the right place, I think it's time for one last shout out to our friend, RoleCatcher.
Right. We've talked about it a lot, but it's more than just like a pre-interview tool, right?
Oh, absolutely. Think of it as your trusty sidekick throughout your whole job hunt. Exploring careers, connecting with other baking enthusiasts, it's got you covered.
So even after you totally ace that interview, RoleCatcher's still there, helping you navigate the wonderful world of baking.
That's it. Your own personal guide to the industry. Support, resources, a little sprinkle of inspiration whenever you need it.
I love that. All right, got to give a huge thank you to both of you for joining us for another delicious deep dive. We dug into the world of becoming a bakery specialized seller, from acing those interview questions to picturing yourself, elbow deep in flour for years to come.
Don't forget, preparation is key, but let that passion shine through.
Because when you mix knowledge and enthusiasm, good things happen. Until next time, happy baking, everyone.